So, I think I've beaten the dead horse that is Ace Combat 7 enough. So I think it's time to start looking towards the future. This game is pretty dead for me. Um, I'll have some gameplay of it in the background, but it's not what we're going to be talking about today. What we're going to be talking about, if you've read the title, is suggestions for Ace Combat 8 or whatever else is going to be coming out in the Ace Combat series. So, I'll do story, gameplay, and content in, I guess, that order. So, if you've seen any of my videos, well, not any, but let's just say I'm not exactly pleased with Ace Combat 7's story. For an Ace Combat game, it's seriously cliche. I have some suggestions for that. I think in Ace Combat 7, what needs to happen is we need what we need is we need to have a deviation from the main story. First of all, the character that we play as needs to speak. We need to have a non-silent protagonist for once. This stuff is just not working anymore. It really didn't work in this game because, multiple sections are... There are multiple parts where there's no reason your character doesn't speak. He's not defending himself, not sticking up for himself, not talking to anybody. I don't get it. It was such a bad idea. They dug themselves into a hole writing that way. Since you can't have any communication with your friendlies. So, that's one thing they need to do differently for once. They need to make the characters talk, or the protagonists talk. Here's what another thing I think that they should do. Either make your protagonist be on the losing side, make them be on the side that is losing the war, or make them be on the villain side, or whatever I guess you would consider the villain side. Maybe go into a deeper part of the war. Maybe be a little darker for once. I mean, this game was just way too chipper and happy. I don't understand. It was giving me mixed messages too. Because missions 16 and 17 and even a little bit 18 are like the darkest it gets. And 17 just takes a toll, or takes a complete 180 and then suddenly people start lining civilians up against the wall and executing them? What? Just 2 missions ago, it was all chipper. This mission that you're seeing on screen right now. Listen to this music. Does this sound like it's dreary? Does this sound like it's a morbid war? Does it sound like people are dying? Those 3 people I just destroyed were people. I just killed 3 people. And guess how many ships have sunk? Guess how many planes I'm destroying? Guess how many helicopters have blown up? 20! What is happy about that? What is chipper? Why is so many people dying such a happy thing? We really need a tonal shift of a sort in Ace Combat 8 if that happens. But let's continue on. When it comes to where it should take place, I think there's been a bit of debate. But if it were to take place somewhere, I think it should take place in the Western continent, which I believe is called Verusia. I could be wrong about that. Maybe Ucrobania is the protagonist. I don't know. Maybe a smaller country in that area. I don't know. We haven't done much with the Verusian continent, so that's kind of up to Namco to decide. But yeah, those are my suggestions for the story. I don't really have a lot of ideas for it, but oh well, actually, I do have. Well, let's go with the next part then. We need fan service. I mean, maybe those 2 things are a bit. They could work in the same area as fan service. What we need is a complete fan service game. The fans who are dedicated, we gave this game to you for you. I thought Ace Combat 7 was going to be that. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I thought Ace Combat 7 was going to be, here you go, fans. We're giving this game to you. We're giving you the story. This has to do with everything else. This is going to be a great game. We're going to give you everything you could ever want. That didn't happen. And that's not me saying, like, we're going to write a perfect story and all that. No, I'm just saying, implement other Ace Combat games. Don't just make a couple tiny references here and there. Maybe sprinkle a mention of Captain Anderson. Just a little tiny mention. Oh, and also name an entire ship after him. And not mention the raspberries. And well, I mean, Harling died, so that's actually a good thing, but don't mention Cypher. Don't mention Mobius 1 directly. Act like Mihai is the talk of Yuzia and not the guy who literally saved the continent from Erusia in the last war. Let's just forget about him, apparently. No. Well, we need an Ace Combat 8. And here's my idea. Here's my, I guess, ultimate idea. Namco, you're welcome to use it. Make a conflict so massive, so large, and so bad that Mobius 1, the raspberries, and even Cypher have to show up. Every single card is at play. Even Talisman can show up if you want him to. Have Trigger show up. Have even older pilots show up, like rival aces and stuff like that. Bring everybody into it. And also give Mobius 1 and Cypher and Blaze voices. That's another thing. Bring all that into it. And have it be this tremendous conflict, like where every card needs to be at play. And maybe allow us to switch between aces. Let us choose to play as Mobius 1. Let us choose to play as Cypher. Let us choose to play as Blaze. And let us run our own squadron. Let us have a squadron to control. Cypher has a wingman. Blaze has multiple wingmen, the raspberries. And Mobius 1 is on his own. You can do that. So you can choose between gameplay styles. And you can have each ace be good at different things. And you could even have Trigger too, and give him wingman controls as well. That, I think, would be just perfect. And it could be Belka again. Personally, I don't think that's a very good idea since it's been Belka twice now. 3 times now. I take that back, 3 times. It's been Belka 3 times now. Ace Combat 5, Ace Combat 0, Ace Combat 7. Or, we could say that a world with no boundaries resurfaces. Something like that happens. Maybe a V3 or something is made, I don't know. It's just an idea. But, I don't know. But, it could be a great story. There are so many opportunities. Either way, I think that's a good way to sum up my ideas for the story. You could even bring in like actually, I just realized Ace Combat 3, I've heard, has to do with companies taking over the world or something. What if the conflict that's that massive leads to whatever happened in Ace Combat 3? Why wouldn't that be done? That sounds like a great idea. That massive conflict leads to Ace Combat 3. So yeah, that could work. Whatever happens in Ace Combat 8, it should definitely have something to do with what I've brought up. You could even bring in the XFA 27, I believe it's the 27. Bring in all the experimental planes. Maybe there are multiple bosses. Stuff like that. if we're not going to go with my first story idea, which was you're either on the villainous side or you're on the losing side, although I don't know how that would work in Ace Combat 3, like if it's tying into that, I don't know who won or who lost, or I don't know. But yeah, so that's probably it for the story stuff. I think that's probably the best sum I can give up to what I think should happen. I'll bring up anything later on down the line during this discussion if I think of anything. So let's move on to gameplay. The gameplay, and more specifically the flight physics, heard a bit of commotion on. Specifically from Andros. He likes the Ace Combat 4 flying style. Personally, I think it's way too floaty. The moon physics, I think, are an accurate way to describe it. That being said, it's got some pros to it. Well, there's a lot to go over with gameplay, so let's just get started. If we're going to choose a physics engine, personally, I would prefer Ace Combat 5 and Zero's engine, because I think it's the funnest to play with, it's the easiest to control, and it gives every plane a chance. Ace Combat 7's has the moon gravity problem, but every plane cuts through the air so flawlessly, I don't know. Every plane, but I don't even know moon gravity would work. Maybe for the less maneuverable aircraft like the F-16, which, by the way, the F-16 is not a bad aircraft in real life, so I don't understand what the negatives for that is. I don't understand why that's seen as such a crappy aircraft. Either way, please, stop with the moon gravity physics. Stop with the floaty controls. Ace Combat 7 feels really floaty. You push your controller, your analog stick to the right, and your plane just keeps moving for a little bit. It's really awful. It's gotten in my way quite a bit. Second of all, please, fix the gun. Don't do what it did in this game. When your gun, it shouldn't be moving the way it does. It shouldn't be flailing. When you level yourself out, the gun shouldn't go up and down for a little bit, like a yo-yo. That is so stupid. And it is so hard to shoot with. Especially with the American aircraft. Their guns spray everywhere, which that might be realistic, I don't know, that's not the point. But the fact that it's inaccurate most of the time is really unhelpful, and they need to bring it back to what it was in Ace Combat 4, 5, and 0. It's too floaty. I even think that's what it was like in Ace Combat 6. The missiles, that's not really important. I mean, just don't do what you did with the Ace Combat Infinity and 6 missiles. Don't make them be that crappy. That was terrible. Anyway, let's move on. If we're going to do boss battles, if we're going to have enemies, please don't do scripting like you did in this game. I know scripting is like a thing you have to do anyway. But even in this game, you can see when you shoot a missile at an enemy, suddenly they'll go really fast and try to evade. If they actually do try to evade, which they don't really try to evade often. It's very obvious, the scripting. And don't even get me started on the Mihai fights. Anybody who thinks that they're not scripted, or it's just not worth arguing. They are scripted. They are completely scripted. Every single one. That is not the way to do a boss fight. Plot armor, that crap needs to go. That cannot be an Ace Combat 8. Do not let that ruin the next Ace Combat game. That has to be gone. Okay, so along with that, make sure the enemies actually, compete because they're good. Make sure rival aces compete because they're good, not because the script told them to do good. Mihai does these ridiculous maneuvers. When he speeds up, he doesn't just speed up naturally. He suddenly shoots out of the way. When there's a missile, boom, he's gone. Even if he was going at really low speeds before. That is a really bad way to have an ace evade a missile, because that doesn't show they're an ace, that shows the script wanted them to evade it. Or rather, no, I guess it would be the script, whatever. So yeah, that stuff needs to go. Script needs to go. Alright, let's move on to the environment for gameplay. Clouds. Clouds. Oh, goodness, clouds. Okay. Clouds are just like... I don't know how to put this. They're okay. They make sense somewhat. But there just is an abundance of them, and they just get in the way. They get way much in the way. It's especially apparent on Fort Gray's online. Everybody's in the clouds. That is the most annoying way to play, flying in the clouds. And next to clouds, clouds may have to be a thing. That's up to Namco. What needs to go is turbulence. Later on, I don't know if we'll get to it, but in Faceless Soldier, sometimes when you're trying to get beneath the clouds, you'll get pushed up by the turbulence, and you can't get into the clouds in time. I'm not kidding, that has happened to me multiple times. It pushes you into the ground, pushes you into the things in Yinchi Valley. I get it's supposed to be an environmental hazard, but goodness sakes, stop with the turbulence. That is terrible. It is just annoying how turbulence works. It takes the controls completely out of your hand. Well, not completely, but it really screws with you, and it should not happen like that. People also tell me that this is an arcade game and not a simulator, and that's true. It's not a simulator. But why is Namco trying to turn it into a simulator, adding things like turbulence, which just ruin the gameplay? Anyway, moving on. Okay, with lasers. Don't balance things around multiplayer. Stop doing that. Don't allow fantasy aircraft to be in multiplayer if you're going to have a multiplayer in the next game. Let lasers be like they used to be. Keep them overpowered, just keep it out of multiplayer. No fantasy craft. Actually have a different segment for multiplayer. Balance multiplayer and have the single player balanced differently. That's what you need to do. Don't let this happen again, where things are balanced in single player like you're playing multiplayer. That is terrible. If you're going to do well, actually, I'll get to that in content later. Well, alright, let's move on. Post-stall maneuvers. They are fine. I don't really have a problem with post-stall maneuvers. Just don't let the AI do them at 1,000 miles per hour, while I only get to do them at 250. I see Mihai doing... You know what? I'm not even... screw Mihai. Okay? He has no place. So... That's that. Anything else to say about gameplay? I don't think there is. Okay. Well, if I remember or see anything about gameplay, I'll mention it in the content. So, moving on to content. In content, let's start with emblems. Emblems, numbers, markings. Let us do more. I don't understand why they've done this in Ace Combat Infinity. Well, I understand it in Ace Combat Infinity. I don't understand it here. It's, quite frankly, terrible in every way. Only being able to select one emblem and select which parts it's on, only one though, is stupid. You know what I'm talking about, so I don't think I need to explain it too much. If you do emblems next time, let us just choose the number, the country, the custom design emblem, and any of the markings it would normally have. Don't do what you did here. It was terrible. There's no reason to have emblems most of the time. So, please, do what you did with Joint Assault at least. But please, fix the emblem system. Okay. When it comes to the story mode, we need to have at least, I'd say 20, we need to have at least what we got in this game, 20 missions. And the mission design needs to be better. More short, fun missions. Just get in, have a little fun, and be done. There are pretty much no missions like that in Ace Combat 7. If a mission has a short and simple objective, it's usually interrupted by another objective. Two-pronged strategy is interrupted by the arsenal bird. Imminent threat is interrupted by drones. It's unbearable. Every mission is way too long, and every mission overstays its welcome unbelievably. Unity Valley is supposed to be was a simple mission, but then after the first phase, which is fine, the music's good, it's just a crappy mission after that. Same thing with Mission 8. Once you destroy all the oil stuff and the sandstorm shows up, it's terrible. Faceless Soldier is worse. I don't even think I need to tell you guys how bad Faceless Soldier is. Fix your mission design and give us more missions. I'd say 30 is a good amount because that's what Ace Combat 5 did, and sometimes that isn't that's not. Sometimes that feels like it's not a lot. Give us multiple paths. As I said earlier with the story, if you have 3 characters, you can make a story for each one. 10 missions each, at least, and you got 30 missions. There you go. Moving on. Planes. Give us more planes. And I don't mean that, well, I mean, every plane in here is like, many of the planes here have variants, a lot of them. For example, the Sukhois, there's like 10 Sukhois. And most of them are the same thing. Was there, I don't recall if there's an issue 32. I don't think there is. I don't know why they took it out, if they did. But there's no F5E. There's no EA8. EA6. There's no EA6. There's no A6E. And it's just robbed of so many aircraft. There's no JAS. There's no Draken, even though that aircraft kind of sucks. And there's no S-32. Let's see. There's no MiG. I forgot. There's no Hawk. There's no MiG. I forgot what the MiG was called. The MiG that shows up. The MiG that what's Hamilton flies, I believe. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. That's not there. And honestly, what you need is not only the aircraft you've had in pretty much every game, you also, and at the same time, all these aircraft, the Falcon, the Morgan, the XO2, the CFA-44, the XFA-27, I believe. Put them in one game. Stop selling them as DLC. They should be in one game. At least the Morgan, Falcon, and XO2 should be in the same game. Especially if you're putting all the aces in that. So, there's that. Put back the experimental aircraft. Bring in the F-15S MTD. Bring back the S-32. Bring back the SG-32 as well. That wasn't experimental though. Bring back the FB-22. Is that what it was? The FB-20? Maybe it was the F-22B. Either way. But yeah, bring back stuff like that. Bring back the modernized version of the MiG-21. Bring back the F-4X, the F-4G. Bring back the Rafale, the normal one. The Typhoon is in this game, I believe. No, the Typhoon is in this game. But yeah, bring back those planes. Why are they not in this game? Yeah, bring back those old craft. Bring back the prototypes. They're so much fun, and of course, have the Su-57 again. That's a good plane. So yeah, have a third mode too. Bring in a third mode. Multiplayer and campaign is not enough. And no, I'm not going to talk about VR. VR does not count. There's 3 missions. And you have to pay like $300 extra for 3 missions. If you want to get a VR headset. You can't just play the missions normally. So it doesn't matter. And I really don't get why you'd lock the third mode behind something that's $300. So don't do that in the next game. Don't lock a mode behind $300. Just have a third mode. Have arcade. Have trial missions. Have a multiplayer, offline multiplayer. Have fun things. Maybe you could have like a scenario creator. Like from Far Cry. People can make battles of their own, have their own things happen. And I didn't talk about... Okay, let me talk about this now. Bring back squadrons. I don't know why you took them out of Ace Combat 7, but let us control our squadrons. If you have allies in your map, let them do something. Let everybody take part in battles. And let your squadron be the best in the battles. Let your squadron do a lot, and yourself do even better than them. Sure. In fact, do it like Infinity. I think Infinity's campaign did something like that. I don't remember entirely. Where you had to be a rival against other mercenaries. But have your squad be as good as those mercenaries. Or better. I don't remember how good they were. But let everybody have a part in the battle. Don't have them shooting through enemies or hitting them and doing no damage. That's terrible. That is ridiculous. And make dispersing actually work. When you tell your people to disperse, let them actually disperse and engage at their own will. Make sure they attack an enemy enough to kill it. If they're going after an enemy, make them have to destroy it first. Or make them do what Pixie does and actually fire at the enemy twice enough to kill it. Do that. And when you tell them to disperse, they disperse across the map where all the enemies are. They disperse and engage everything. That way not all the pressure is on you to do literally everything. Cover would work if you want them to cover you. Attack will work. And you can do the special weapons thing too. And disperse air, disperse free, and disperse ground will be there too. So if you want them to focus on air, like say for example in Farbanty, you can't deal with all the enemies at once. So tell your squadron to disperse and deal with air targets. You'll deal with ground targets, or the opposite. And they'll go across the map attacking enemies. Ace Combat 1 and 2 did this as far as I'm aware. You could choose what you wanted your allies to do. As far as I'm aware. So, that's another thing. And also, don't lock emblems behind multiplayer. Now, I don't bring this up a lot, but technically it's a very valid point. Someday, multiplayer will not be accessible. It's just going to happen. And when that happens, nobody's going to be able to get most of the emblems in the game. Second of all, or whatever, I don't know why I keep saying that. Don't do a no damage run a 4-hour run and a gun run for the entire campaign. Only doing that. If you're gonna have enemy spam, you cannot do a no damage run like that. That is ridiculous. I got all the medals, but they were a pain to do, especially the no damage one. I restarted checkpoints a lot. The enemy spam is ridiculous. I don't think I ever, except for like the first 2 missions maybe, go without taking damage in a mission. It rarely happens. Yeah, so those are most of my suggestions. Let me bring up something else real quick. When you shoot down... Okay, this is one thing that I think Ace Combat 4 did beautifully. Probably one of my favorite things about Ace Combat 4. When you shoot down an enemy, one of 3 things will happen. 1, the enemy will explode immediately. 2, the enemy will be shot down and will explode at midair at some point. Or 3, and this happens always with big aircraft, the aircraft will never blow up and it will hit the ground no matter where it was shot down. I hate how Ace Combat 7 does this. If you shoot down an enemy, they'll blow up exactly at the same point every single time. Every time. Stop that. And don't make them fall apart too. Maybe have a dynamic system for that. But maybe like if you blow them up with a gun or destroy them with a gun, they won't fall apart. If you destroy them with a couple missiles, then they'll fall apart. But please, do what you did in Ace Combat 4. Let them fall to the ground. Or, one of the 3. And make sure that bombers, AWACSs, I don't even know if there's an E-767 in this game besides AWACS Sky Eye in VR. But let big planes always hit the ground. Every time they should hit the ground. That's just how it should work. And unless it's like a refueling plane or something, that could like have a big giant fuel explosion. So that could work. But please, do what you did in Ace Combat 4 with the planes getting shot down. Maybe let us see the pilots bail out. And let me say this now. Project Wingman is doing this. I don't know why it took an indie developer to do it, but please, do something like Conquest. I would love a thing like Conquest. Conquest sounds amazing. Why did it take an indie developer to do that? Also, if you do a Mobius 1, if you put Mobius 1 in the game, can you do the skin right? Make the F-22 actually blue. Don't do what you did in this game. Yeah, so that's most of what I was trying to say. What I'd do for the final mission in the story, I'd say have everybody like unite at the end. Like all the aces meet each other, all the aces in the series previously. I'm actually curious how old Cypher would be. But anyway, those are my suggestions. Hopefully a person from Namco would watch this, or at least people will watch this, and maybe these suggestions can get out there, because many of these things need to be addressed. I've criticized Ace Combat to the brink, Ace Combat 7, but I don't do it because I hate Ace Combat. I do it because I love Ace Combat and I want to see it succeed. I want to see it do better. I want it to become funner. But whatever you do, don't do what you did with Ace Combat 7. Please. And I understand that Ace Combat 7 went through some hardships. I understand that there was a lot of development trouble. But I don't remember who said this, but I will quote it. A game that is released, or a game that is rushed out will never be good. But a game that is delayed or has those can still be great. That's not even exactly the quote, but basically that's the sum up of it. Whatever you do, don't rush your game. I know you had to switch engines at some point. I heard that was a problem. But just don't do this again. Don't do what you did with this game. Write better characters. Get a better writer if you need it. Clearly this one can't do it anymore. He screwed up with Ace Combat 6, screwed up with Assault Horizon, assuming that was the same person, and he screwed up with this game. Get a better composer. Or no, I take that back. Get more composers. I also heard that Kiki was the only composer on this. Don't do that. Make more music. Have more missions, have more unique music. Don't make Kiki the sole composer. Do what you did with the other games. Maybe you could bring in old tracks too. Bring in The Journey Home. Bring in Blurry. Don't be lazy like you did with this game. Don't do terrible plot holes like you did in with what's her cassette, with the cassette tape, whatever. When she got blown up into bits and then survived. Don't retcon. Don't do it. You don't do what you just did with Mihai. Don't allow that to happen either. Oh, that's intriguing. And where is that unidentified aircraft? Yeah, I don't know where you are though. Oh, there he is. Oh, he's well over 50,000 feet. Probably more. That's impressive. He's not even stalling or... Oh, you're gonna bail out? Good luck with the UV rays. There, buddy.
Is this a message to trigger?
Okay. Well, good luck with that. Anyway, could the final boss please not be as lame as it was in this game? Could it not be just 2 enemies? Or 4? Or whatever? Can we not do that again? Can we have more... Oh, I needed to bring up this... Oh, no, I did. But... Have more... Okay, actually, I needed to bring this up. When you do your score attack missions... Here. Do this. Score attacks... Either like Ace Combat 0 or like Ace Combat 4. Please, though. Give us enough time if you're doing a timed attack. Don't do what you did with this game where you give us 15 minutes in Pharmacy where enemies appear at 3 minutes. Don't let that happen. And if it does happen, again, take my suggestion with what I suggested about with the friendlies. Let them do more. Let Disperse work in the way it should. Give us 20 minutes. Tango Line worked that way. Tango Line was great for it. Faceless Soldier, or not Faceless Soldier, that's the mission it's on right now, and that sucks. Fleet Destruction. There is enough time, but barely. There's enough time with Long Day. In fact, Long Day is the best example of the way the mission should be. Pharmacy is ridiculous. Here's the problem. These missions are so stressful because the time is too short. They're just too stressful, and you don't have any relaxation time. You can't just stop, take a breather. No, you have to be constantly fighting and destroying enemies for 15 minutes. It's really exhausting. I was exhausted. In fact, I honestly, the more the better the planes get, like with the Morgan, or not with the Morgan, with the Falcon and the Raven, I just can't play Fleet Destruction or Farmity without them now, because it's so ridiculously stressful. I want to destroy everything, but it's impossible to do without them. And even with them sometimes. But, yeah, that's some of that. If you do Ace Combat Zero's type of score mission, here, let me bag on Zero for a bit. The score attacks in Zero, I'm a fan of the design, but for even Bastion specifically, and for Lying in Deceit, there's not enough points to score. I don't know how to put this, because I don't want it to be so much points it's ridiculous and it'll take forever. But you only really can destroy one area in Bastion, and I don't even know what the point of the enemies, the flying enemies around the area are, because if you destroy any of them, you won't be able to destroy one area fully. That gets a little annoying. Maybe you send, like, if you disperse, your allies will engage the other areas and help other allies engage other areas, and maybe all of them will be destroyed by the end. I just hate leaving a battle unfinished, you know? Like, I talked about leaving, like, I don't like having no enemies on the map left with, like, Farbancy or Fleet Destruction, or at least ground enemies. But holy crap, is it annoying in Zero. You can't even get close to destroying all the enemies on the ground, unless you only destroy the green targets, which there's a chance then, but it's still close, I believe. But it's not destroying all the ground targets. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Zero. So yeah, I think that this video has been a good example of what I need to get out about this game. Please, I probably should have said at the end of the video, I'll actually put that at the beginning of the video. I was going to say, watch the video the whole way through, but if you're here, you probably have watched the video the whole way through. So, I'll put that at the beginning. Anyway, I might expand upon this later, because this is a lot of the stuff I wanted to get out. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. I really think this stuff matters. I want people to know that I'm not just a hater. I don't hate Ace Combat. That's never been the case. I don't hate Ace Combat 7 because it's not the Trinity. I just want to see the game series grow. This game was not a good game. It's factually not a good game. It got so much praise, and I just don't understand why. The story sucks. That's subjective technically, but in actuality, this story just plain sucks. There's nothing subjective about it. It has plot holes. It leaves out a lot of things that could have been expanded upon. It honestly feels like it was rewritten. It's incomplete. It's just... It does not feel like a complete and self-contained story. But that's... Well, I mean, self-contained doesn't technically have to always be the case, but goodness, this story just sucks. And the gameplay is subpar, multiplayer subpar, but I'll stop here because I do want this video to end by the next year. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, stay frosty. The price is right. Thank you for watching.